Hey, Jeff.
Hey, Eric.
How are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
Doing well, thank you. Day number 11 of the 12 days of podcast. Jeff, I'm so not interested in doing a long intro. I have no more stories to tell. They all surround these 2 weeks. Is it cool if I just read off who's been on the podcast already?
It is so cool.
All right. Day number 1, Cameron. Day number 2, Cord Jefferson. Day number 3, Tinashe. Day number 4, Bun B. Day number 5, James Rico of Real Goats. Day number 6, Gia Peppers. Day number 7, Jorge Peniche. Day number 8, Young Baby Tate. Day number 9, Illmind. Oh, I didn't realize those two rhymed right there. Day number 10, Jim Jones. Day number 11, Brandon Jinx Jenkins. Jeff, congratulations to you.
Congratulations to you, Eric.
Congratulations to all of us, to everyone who's listened, everyone who has gleaned gems from any of these esteemed guests on this esteemed podcast. Guys, thanks for fucking with us. We got one more day. It's happening tomorrow. We're recording it right after this.
Yeah, but in the meantime, you should listen to this episode with Brandon Jinx Jenkins.
Jeff, when do you want to get into it?
Right now.
I'm ready. You ready? Okay.
Yeah. Should I like airplane mode or?
No, whatever.
There's no rules. I don't care.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know nobody listens to this.
Yeah.
This is clearly not the episode.
Jim had both of his phones on the
This
thing.
is 11 days and Jinx is here.
All right. Yo, what up? It's Eric, a.k.a. Running with the Pump, a.k.a. New Jersey Gas Attendant.
Yo, what up? It's Jeff, a.k.a. Top of the Block, a.k.a. Jenga.
I don't have one. Why am I not prepared? Hold on. All right, guys, sorry. I didn't have one last time. I was here.
Yeah.
I need one.
You've been up here like 30 times.
I know.
This is truly embarrassing.
Wait, before we go.
Yes. Yeah.
What was the most episodes?
I guess like you, Peter Rosenberg.
Smoke Dizza. That's probably
the top 3.
Yeah.
Like when you say top 3, who won? Will this make me one?
Yes. Yeah.
Sure, why not?
Yeah.
You know, there's no
All
rules.
right. Jinx, a.k.a. Brandon, Jinx, a.k.a. number 1 guest on It's the Real podcast, a.k.a. I'm going to come back 3 or 4 more times.
Yeah, it's your favorite podcast to waste time with. It's the real. Jinx, what's happening?
I'm here. I'm alive. I'm awake.
Yes.
I only go uptown once a year or twice a year. Wow. This is number 2.
Yeah. Well.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for making it just before the New Year hits.
Yeah, man.
Wait, what do you normally go uptown for?
No, I don't know. I have a 2 quota.
Yeah.
And then there's one always in the bag for you all in case I get the invite.
I'm so glad.
And then there's always one that's like at the top of the year. So like between spring, summer, I don't see uptown.
Damn, man.
I mean, I guess it's not. You guys don't know any people come up here because you guys have a show and people just come here for you all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a time when Dan and Jeff would have their birthday party uptown, and that just
nobody would show up.
that got all the complaints.
It's rough. Like, yeah, it's Brooklyn, it's Lower Manhattan. It's always kind of been those spots.
Yeah.
But yeah, uptown is like, or you guys have like, what month are you born in?
July.
Okay, I mean, you got to do. Well, I
Yeah.
guess La Marina's done.
Yeah. No, La Marina's never done. Go there right now. It's popping.
La Marina lives on through us.
So if people want to hear your whole story, they can check out your first episode of A Waste Time with It's the Real.
That was what, like 98?
That was
98,
1998.
No, episode 90.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
It probably was. I mean, yeah, it was before you guys. It's probably like in the first 100.
Yeah.
And then
I think it was 96 because Cardi B was 99. Envy
yeah.
was 98.
Yep. So yeah, you were in that space.
Ev
Damn.
Boogie was 97. Why do I know this?
I don't know.
I think you were 96.
Yeah.
Damn it, you guys are at what number right now?
Oh, we're
Close
clearing
to 300.
Yeah, this is like
294?
294.
24?
294.
I'm in the 90s. I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank God.
So, given that, and a lot has happened since the last time we had a long conversation with you, but I just want to talk about like the shit you're really proud of that people don't see. And also I want to talk about, because we've had this conversation off mic, all 3 of us deserve to talk our shit, because there's a lot of things that people don't appreciate about us.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things people don't see that we do well, but there's also a lot of like things that we've done that we deserve credit for that maybe people don't give us those flowers. So what are you most proud of that people just don't see on a regular basis?
You know what's funny is I was thinking of the first podcast, and people sometimes kids with their own podcasts are like, it's sometimes it here's a mixed bag. It's they're like, yo, I want to have you on my podcast, and I mean this in the nicest way possible. I'm like, damn, I'm not just around like that. Like you know, like you guys, all right. Like you're not asking, I don't know, someone else that I feel like I'm probably working harder than, but I'm also like, yo, that podcast exists. Like just go to It's the Real. Like that's that's the podcast. And I can't do that again because I haven't, up until I guess right now, I didn't have enough life between that podcast and anything else to really talk about. I felt like, so I always point people back to this podcast. And I feel like out of all the platforms that I get a chance to talk on, for some reason, this is the one that people are always like, yo, like, I like your story here. And I'm like, I've told it maybe one or two other places.
Yeah.
But this is, I think it's just like the format you guys have, the amount of time that we know each other. Whatever that is, that's the one that people are like, oh, bet, yeah.
Thank you very much. And
Yeah.
and it really is an honor to share your story because you're one of one. I think that you're very unique and you're extremely talented. Obviously, people know the podcast and, you know, your camera work, as in like in front of the camera and behind the camera.
Yeah.
And you DJ. And like you're not slacking in any of those things.
And you're also very good at texting. I feel like that's being
Am I?
like, yeah.
I think I'm bad.
You really think you're a bad texter?
You know what? The problem is if you guys say I'm good at texting, that means it's because we're texting.
Yeah.
But then there are going to be people who will be like, oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So Jinx doesn't respond to text.
It's a choice type thing.
By the way,
how many unread texts do you have? Oh, no. Wait, you have unread texts?
Yeah.
Oh, see, I have none.
No, yeah, I'm real anal about it. I can't like
I can't not respond.
Yeah.
Even
I'm
like people I distinctly do not like.
Yeah.
I still have to respond to them.
I'm at 135.
What?
Yeah. But
Is that that's group text though too, right? Like in there?
no, group texts are usually the thing I read. There's I don't know where they're all coming from.
Yeah.
But they exist.
Here,
also too, I just
read through them all and then tell us where they're coming from.
You're saying that there's ones from like really 3 years ago that might just be unread.
You know when they really exploded? It exploded when I left Complex and then jumped on State of the Culture, and it cracked 100, and then I got it back down, and then I just had a birthday. And the bad thing about that is that means someone's probably like, yo,
Yeah.
I took time out of my day. Yo, Jinx, what's up? I love you. I'm here to celebrate the day you entered the earth. And I'm like, yo, I'm out tweeting.
Yeah.
I'm definitely tweeting.
Yeah, but you
You
took
have
a
the
blanket
phone in your
statement
hand.
that's
Yeah.
like,
It's bad.
yo, thank you to everybody who texted me.
But that's so shitty. But then it's also like there's a point where it's your birthday and you just kind of want to do nothing.
Do you
Yeah.
hit people back? It's like, yo, happy birthday, God. Like, you know, congratulations on everything. And you just go, bet.
Say less.
three praying emojis.
Yeah.
Or what's really bad is I realized, and this is a goal for this year and definitely a goal going forward, is that some text threads are the last time we've texted is them wishing me happy birthday.
Yeah.
Wow,
And,
yeah.
It's not great.
That's a real thing. That's a
Yeah.
real thing.
That's you guys are such Sagittarius.
Yeah, yeah, I know we are.
yeah, like it's my world, not yours.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're not
Yeah.
good at texting, but you're great at so many other things.
Thank you.
What do people what do people not know?
Man, way to get that back on
What do you?
track.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was.
Thank you. What do you?
gonna
What,
kinda
what, what are you really proud of?
Man, what am I really proud of this year? This year's been I guess it's not even this year, just in general, since the last time we spoke. I don't know, it's been a real blur. Like, I think since last time we spoke, clearly, I stopped working at Complex. I jumped out and started freelancing.
You mean spoke on the podcast? Because
Yeah,
I
yeah,
feel
yeah.
like we speak
talk-
very
yeah.
regularly.
We're not the unread text.
Yeah, I feel like I see you all at very minimum once a month.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And often not in New York.
Yeah, I know that's.
Yeah, the way in which I work is has changed dramatically. Like, I'm not in the office every day, and that's both exciting but also like kind of stressful.
Yeah.
You have to do the work around the work, which is like new to me in a way that I'm not totally.
You have to fight for yourself.
Yeah. You have to fight for stuff. You have to respond to texts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to figure out what your work schedule's like, and also like it is a lot of saying yes to things but saying no to things. At a job, you kind of just have this agreement that you just do whatever people do.
Right.
I think I'm extremely proud of leaving a gig and essentially having some things lined up, but betting on myself and it turning out to be decent.
Yeah.
I think I spent a lot of time, and I wonder if it is a Sagittarius thing. Another Sagittarius told me this would happen. And he was like, you're going to hit all these marks of things that you want, but while you say you want it, you're going to start heading towards it, and you're going to already want something else. And when you get the thing that you got, you're going to kind of be like, you're not even going to think about it. You're just not going to celebrate it. You're already thinking about tomorrow, the next thing. And I think a lot of times I've convinced myself not to throw myself parades all the time, just to get to the next thing. But it makes you really manic.
Wait, do you feel the same way as a Sagittarius? Is that
Yeah,
like a
do.
thing?
I do. I
Okay.
do.
The person who told me that was Brock Corson.
Oh.
When I first met him, because we ended up having like this long interview, and he's like, "Oh, you're like this. Well, I'm like this," and I've seen that in other people that are from that born in that time period.
And
And
I'm not like Brock because I don't have a cactus in my home and I don't play golf with Schoolboy Q.
Right. But
Brock-
otherwise,
Yeah, and I don't look like Dennis Eckersley.
from 30,000 feet up, Brock's life is fucking awesome.
Yes.
It's really awesome, and it's a point now where I can't even watch his IG stories because I'm like, oh, this shit looks lit, and I don't want to do what I'm doing. I want to do what
Yeah.
you're doing. I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah.
But it looks dope.
he drives a Jeep. Yeah.
Yeah. Like he's crafted this amazing life. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to point to individual things, I guess, because I really am thinking about tomorrow. And not that I'm unsatisfied or ungrateful for what's happening now, but that's what's been in my mind, like just thinking about like potentially like what does television look like on my terms?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I imagine like you guys have found a sweet spot in podcasting where it's muscle memory. But I imagine the first one, just having audio, you're like, what do we do? Do we cut it?
Oh my
And
God.
you probably did almost too much work to
Yeah.
it, right?
Oh,
Like-
well, by the way, I had no experience in audio engineering. It was just like the third episode, I remember it was just like horrible audio and we felt so bad at Smoke Dizza. Part of the reason that we've invited him back, like, time and time again. But, that is a real thing too. And it's funny that you say the shit that you said about being in Sagittarius and planning about like the next thing and the next thing and the next thing is that I don't want to be just a podcaster. And a lot of people think that we are just podcasters, but that's also like people thought that we were just sketch comedians and just, interviewers for MTV. And people can't get over that box that they think that you're in.
I feel like I've always, every time I encounter someone, I'm in the box that I encounter them in, and I panic about it a lot. And the people that I'm working with, or even just people in my life, are like, yo, it's not really like that. You just think it's like that. And I have a constant fear of like shackles in whatever sense that is. That I've also, not that this is a Zodiac episode, that I've also been told,
Believe me, it's not.
are attributed to like people like myself. But that's why it makes it almost hard sometimes to like celebrate, or like I feel like even when we have conversations about the work, it's not celebration. It's like me kind of griping a little bit and talking about tomorrow and these plans that I want to do. And I'm trying to be less that person because it's not as enjoyable, but it's how I'm manufactured. You know?
Well, how much of it is because like you're relying on a lot of other people, and like I mean the nice thing about Eric and myself is that there are two of us, and so you can divvy up that work.
Yeah.
But how much?
And also,
of it,
if someone's down, the other one could be up.
yeah,
Yeah.
and also like yes, we do have a big network of people that we can bring over to be guests and all that stuff.
Sure.
But how much of your magazine can you then be like, fuck it, I don't need other people, I can just do this myself? Or is that like too emotionally taxing for you?
No, not much. It's like there's people who are better writers, or it's also like having a fucking vision, right? Like knowing that like, yo, this person, the way they write, they can do this really well. They can do this better than me. Photography being like, I can't jump over here and do this shoot, but you live over here. And also it isn't just necessarily a selfish project. It's working at print magazines, working at Mass Appeal, working at the last days of print for Complex, growing up off, Vibe, Slam, PlayStation Magazine, whatever it was, and Double XL, and being like, oh, the thing that makes this dope is it's a collective body of talents that you kind of harness together, and that's what makes it dope. Otherwise, it's just my own. I would just do a photo book, right?
Right.
Like it's knowing working at magazines and being like, this would have been cool, this would have been cool, and I constantly live in the this would be cool if space. And now at the point I'm at in my career, I want to make those ifs of this is cool because it exists.
Yeah.
And I feel like that for my own personal projects, let alone projects I'm trying to do that are more community based. But
Well, what about, okay, now I'm just like getting into, this is a real Leo thing.
okay.
Where I feel like I have all the answers. So what about if you were to, like, obviously the people you've been reaching out to are not the ones who are responding in the way that you want.
Yeah.
So reach out to other people, and then the other people will come around to that.
It is that, and it's constantly having to get outside of your box, your own way, keep your own personal momentum up, because that's a big thing too. Like, I'll get busy with my real life or get a no, and that'll like take me out the game for a little bit, and needing to have the momentum, or thinking about how many kids on the net are like, yo, let me know, I want to work. And that's always feels kind of funny because sometimes it's just bullshit, or they just want an Instagram page. They don't want to do the work. But I'm extremely like judgmental about that stuff of like,
Same.
Who's real, who wants to do the work. Like, if I always use the phrase of like, throwing yourself a parade. Like, who just wants to throw themselves a parade? Who actually wants to like go through and you know, put feet to pavement?
Yeah.
So this thing has been outside of looking for the tangible product, it's been like an extremely informative lesson on myself and how I look at our creative space and other people.
Yeah.
You know, because I'm notoriously I'll do it all myself kind of person, and this is the thing I actually can.
Counterpoint, I would say you can, and I would say you are. And if you're not going to big yourself up, then I'm going to big yourself up.
I don't know if that's a Sagittarius thing, but it is definitely an Eric thing.
Yeah. But you deserve the credit for you left that building. Leaving Complex, which is killing it and has been killing it, that's a tough thing. So for you to make that step, dive off that ledge and right into the deep end is a big deal. That you've been out on your own and successful is a big deal. And that you haven't, with all due respect to people who may do this, retreated to another building, because that would have been easy to do too.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, it's not that I've even really thought about it. I'm not like, oh man, I should go do this other thing. In fact, I've fought job offers. Like, you know, people offer me a job, but I'm like, oh, that's not really what I want. And learning about myself, being like, why did these other situations not necessarily work for me? Because other people, they thrive, they love it. Some people, that's just going to be what they do.
For sure.
I like a ton of control. I like a ton of control over what I'm saying, where I'm at, who I'm going to surround myself with. And that used to be just for the content. Now I'm realizing, like, levels outside of that, like, oh, not just like what time of the day I wake up. Like, I want control over like the whole shit, you know. And that's what I realize the magazine is that.
Yeah.
But and the frustration is the true value of what control is. It's not that you're pulling all the strings. Is that some of those strings don't pull, you know. And some of them, and you're like, oh, this is what it means to be. If you're asking for control, it's a ton of responsibility. It's a ton of weight.
Yeah.
It's how do you get outside your comfort zone? How do you encourage other people? How do you inspire the people? How do you find funds? Because some people don't want to hear the message; they just want coins, right?
Yeah.
So it's all those things I'm trying to figure out. But
even for you, how do you wake up every morning and have purpose, right?
man, I mean, some of it's because I said yes already,
Yeah.
right? So like that's a big part of it. Is like
this podcast,
like getting the things like, oh, I said yes to that, or even now, like the end of the year, I signed up for some other projects, some podcasting projects that'll come out soon, and I'm like, yo, I'd love to. I wanted to go. Chris Thomas, he bounced out to Africa.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to go to Africa. You know what I mean?
Corey's
like,
out there too.
Yeah, like I was like, that
half
was
our group chat.
yeah, that was what I wanted to do top of the year, but I got caught up in the hunt, the money hunt, the chase. And I'm also not addicted to working, but like that's what I know. Like,
When's the last time you took a vacation?
my man's 30th, it was 2016.
Holy shit.
Yeah, it's fucked up. The thing is, I realize there's a couple things. I don't take vacations because I didn't grow up really with vacations, so I don't really know that. But I grew up every day. My mom was up at 4:30. My dad was out the door at 6. Like, I've seen that, so that's what I do.
Yeah.
And it's kind of twisted, but like we never really learned vacations. Like, and I also think too, it's that weird checkpoint destination thing where I'm like, yo, I'm not where I want to be doing the things that I want to do. And it's poison because like you'll chase that and tell yourself you don't deserve a break, right? Like I remember when I was in college and like my grades were slipping and they weren't good. I didn't party at all. I didn't leave the dorm. And not that I was working all hours, but there was like a sense of guilt. Like, well, how am I partying if, if my paperwork isn't right? And I don't really know what that is, but it's something I've recognized in myself for like a really long time. So I'm trying to take a vacation soon.
Yeah. I mean, have you traveled much?
Yeah, you travel for work.
Sure.
But that's not the same thing. Like,
Well, I mean, but that's a lot of like domestic travel. You traveled internationally.
Yeah, like I've been to London.
Right.
I've been to Japan before. I've been to DR, but I'm not like I'm in like Tibet, I'm not like I'm touching these crazy corners and pictures of me like dressed like wherever I'm visiting.
Right. You're not a president.
Yeah, right. I don't work at the consulate, but like
yeah.
I don't even know if that's really my thing either, man. Like
that's very true
if
too.
you don't travel for Instagram, then are you really traveling at all? That's my whole thing. You know what I'm saying?
So yeah, right. Like
so I didn't take a vacation in 10 years, right? Like we worked crazy. We didn't, it was just us, right? And then finally when Trump became president, we were like, he's going to do away with all the national parks. Let's actually take advantage of that. Go down to Utah, go down to Arizona and hike. And, we and our brother Dan, we did that. And there's no cell service down there. So it wasn't like we had to worry about work. It was a true break. And
now we're taking another true break.
Yeah. But there is something about, okay, fine. There's, it's not exactly roughing it. There's air conditioning. There's like, a rental car.
Who wants to rough it?
No, agreed.
Yeah, Jews don't camp.
But there is something about getting away, and if that's our version of getting away, it was worth it. I promise you, like a vacation from your ordinary, regular routine is a true refresh.
And I believe it. I feel like I remember like being like, man, I feel like I'm burnt out. And then like I actually did, like it's like a couple weeks ago, like I got burnt out.
Yeah.
Like, actually right before my birthday.
What does being burnt out mean to you?
Become extremely short and like I haven't like a text message sound will send me over the edge. Replying to texts will send me. I just realized.
Well, good thing you don't reply to text messages. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, that's really I'm trying to make a safe space or whatever people are calling this. But like I didn't know it, and then it hit, and I was like, oh shit. And this is like literally two or 3 weeks ago. I feel like it's not the direction you guys want to go.
No, I'm cool with it.
But
I'm all for dark Jinx.
It hit like 2 or 3 weeks ago, and everything got super heavy, and. Like I have a great relationship with my mom. I was talking crazy to her, and I was like, "Damn, I'm bugging out." And it just, I hit the limit. Whatever the wall is, I went over. Whatever the red line is, I broke the needle, and I was like, and so everything feels like a little bit of weight. And I was like, "Oh, you did this to yourself though too." Like part of being in control is control.
It's not going over that red line.
And it's figuring out what that is too, right? And I think ideally you do that before you hit the red line, right? Like you don't want to like, your light goes on E, that's one thing. You don't want to break down in the middle of the highway.
Yeah.
And so like, I'm not broken down in the middle of the highway, but like, it tanks on E. And I'm realizing like, oh, this, at what cost, right? Like, and then the things you want to do, you can't go do them, right? Like you can't make a magazine or record podcast or write these other things because you're just spent, And my head lives a lot in the future. I live a lot in tomorrow. And even that feels like sometimes too much work. There was a day where I was in the apartment and, like you're like, oh, I want to watch like nonsense TV just to like, I was watching nonsense TV and even the nonsense of it didn't hit me. I was just like just there. It was crazy. And I'm glad I realized what it was. But,
do you feel guilt when you're watching nonsense TV?
Because I don't really watch much of it, right? Like I don't do reality TV at all. I don't do.
But even like spending the time to do that.
Well, I think.
Because yesterday I was like, do I have time to watch a 20-minute YouTube video?
Yeah. I think I normally would have felt guilty, but I was really, I was just on pause. Like I was stuck. It wasn't a matter. I was just there.
Yeah.
Like my phone would go off, and that part feels a little guilty of not replying to my phone. But I was like, man, it's not me being like, fuck it, I'm creating space for myself. It was like, yo, I can't.
Yeah.
This is like right before my birthday, so it felt crazy. Like, to be like, damn. So this is what it is. All right.
We saw you in the middle of like what I believe was like 4 back-to-back trips, and I'm talking about like insane time zones, like back and forth.
That did it.
Yeah. That felt like a lot from our end, and you're living through it on a plane.
Yeah, it was like I flew.
Private.
My God. No, definitely not. I forget where I was going, but like I remember it started with like I think I was doing stuff for Billboard. So like I flew to LA at some point in the summer. Then I was in Atlanta for a Gunna show. Then I came back, and meanwhile, like when I'm back, I'm still working. I'm either doing a podcast or I'm doing a show. Even DJing sometimes can take a lot out of you. Like, yo, it's birthdays, you know what I mean? Like, I had to, like, couldn't even see everybody on, like, everyone's birthday because it was just like, yo, I'm done.
Yeah.
And then I went back to Atlanta. Then I flew to Virginia. Then I came back. Then for some reason, I think it was Red Bull. I had to go back to Atlanta again.
Yeah, that's when we saw you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I went to...
Oh, actually, we convinced you to come. This is sort of our fault.
I mean, that was still a good trip.
You were in London. You were in L.A. You were back in New York.
Yeah, then I went to London. And then from London, I came back. It was a day, and I went to L.A. And then that's when I was like, it was just blurry.
It's a whirlwind.
My time zones were hit.
Yeah.
And then I came back.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I can't even remember. And that's starting to get bad, like fuzzy of like, yo, what even happened?
Yeah.
And I think about last year. That time last year, I was leaving Complex. I was starting State of the Culture.
Was that only a year ago?
Yeah, I mean, it's September, right?
Yeah.
Like
that's crazy.
Yeah, like a lot's happened, and so
Trump got elected.
Right? Like, I think I might have been doing the group chat podcast with Emily and them. I can't really remember, but I didn't announce Mogul yet, but I was working.
Yeah.
And, and I remember being so excited because, like, you get those hits on the internet, right? Of people like, yo, you're doing great. And I remember, like, my social media activity was up. I was doing all this shit. I think I did, like, I, like, landed in Coverture. I was like, oh, yo, like, all the things that felt like, yo, I left this job and all these things are clicking for me. Hell yeah. And it went kind of wild. Like, it just got kind of nuts. And I remember being, at the end of the year, I was thinking about what I was thankful for. I was like, I'm thankful, like I made these career changes, and it was very much about my career, and also kind of like the energy the public was kind of giving me. Because, at that point, I was on the bench prior to that. I didn't have those things. And, like, you watch your peers click off, and you want, not attention, but...
No, but you want to be in that same, like, you want to have the same momentum as everybody else. And I think that we can both relate to that as well.
For sure.
I mean, kind of the thesis of this episode, right, of, like, the flowers. And you want to feel like, also, there's a future, too. You want to just be in it.
Yeah.
But I spent the whole year in it. And I realized at the end of this year, like, I literally had to think, I was like, yo, I'm super happy to be alive. And I'm super happy to, like, have things I can rely on. And, like, things have changed. So maybe I can't see my friends all the time. But, like, the group chat, even like that, to know that I can send something out in the group chat, and while some of the stuff in the chat is absolutely insane, I don't need back. I can. That's something I can rely on. You know what I mean? Like, it's something like that's simple, something I can rely on when you can't see your boys every day. So, like, my perspective's changed, and I hope that going to 2020, I gain a better sense of appreciation, but also a better sense of balance. You know what I mean?
I was talking to Amir Bessie right before this episode.
Yeah.
And he said, I was like, yeah, Jinx is coming over. He was like, well, Jinx has to tell the Thrasher story. Now, I do not know this story.
I do not either.
But apparently you do.
I don't know if it's going to come out nearly as good as what it was when it happened. So it's South by Southwest. It's actually, oddly enough, Boogie posted the picture the other day. It was me, Amir, Combat Jack, Amaya, in a photo from South by Southwest 2016.
A pretty great picture.
Amazing. Like, if you're someone that enjoys the intersection of the internet and hip hop, I remember at that point, like, sneaking out of the photo and Combat being like, nah, come on, you're in this. And me feeling like, hell yeah. But
that's so very both of you, by the way.
Yeah.
It's very Combat and very me. So we end up hanging out later, me and Amir, and I'm with my boy Sean Stout. He was our cameraman at Complex. He's actually just in town right now too. And we're at some party, and I'm wearing, like, the Supreme, like, starter jacket or something. And this kid comes up to me. He's, like, got the whole Supreme, like, outfit on and shit. And he's a hype beast, but he just, like, came up out of nowhere. He's like, yo, what's up? I'm like, what's up? He's like, yo, man, do you, like, know the history behind Supreme? I'm like, nigga, shut up. Like, what? Like, what? Like, out of nowhere. It's me, Sean, and Amir. And Amir's like, huh? And he's like, do you know the history behind Supreme? Like, do you know who James Jebby is? And I was like, yo, dog, what? Like, and he's some kid in Austin, Texas, who's like, he's probably like probably watched Kids too many times,
or not enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, buying stuff off he's that kid wherever he's from. But he was annoying as fuck. So he keeps asking me about Supreme and shit like that. And he's talking about skateboarding and, like, kick flipping. I'm like, yo, get the fuck away from me. But I'm trying to be nice. And Amir's the nicest guy ever.
Nicest guy.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yo, but Amir flipped. The kid said something, and Amir was like, yo, enough. Yo, enough. And he kept talking. He goes, yo, I said enough. But he's like, dead ass. And then the kid puts his hand up, and Amir, like, smacks his hand, like, pops his hand, like, yo, enough. And the kid just walks off and shit, and I was dying. But after that, Amir randomly will send me, we just make fun of the kid. He's like, yo, bro, do you even skate? And so on my birthday, he sent me the Thrasher gift, and it's funny as fuck. But I can't, just that kind of kid is, like, so annoying. that kid who's kind of trying to prove himself in his clothing or whatever. He's searching for an identity, and for that to happen, it can't be defined by himself. He has to bounce it off of other people.
Yo, straight up, do you ever have imposter syndrome?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Same.
Do you?
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
I'm like, no.
No, but
I definitely do.
But what makes it worse is, okay, we had Cameron on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
It went viral because of one thing he said. Okay.
Well, I mean, it would have gone like wider than usual because it's Cameron. But
right,
yeah.
for sure.
The
but
dinosaur shit
He
is
said the
super
dinosaur
funny.
shit.
Yeah.
Museum facts.
That's gonna. You know, the funny thing is, to be able to see a moment and know how long it's gonna go. That's a
Yeah.
year's worth of interview questions for him. Like,
Yeah.
easily.
It's great.
Yeah.
It's great. But all these people on YouTube are new to us.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, who are these guys?
Yeah. No, who are these random
Random white boys.
And
And-
like, how did they get Cameron over there?
And why
so-
did Cam do this like random thing before you would do Drink Champs or whatever? And it while like we can take it, like we've been
Mm-hmm.
around long enough where it's just like, all right, fine. But there is a lot of like repetitiveness where it's just like, oh, okay, clearly there's a lot of world out there, and these people just have this one mindset, and it's like, oh no, are we random? Are we not as good? And
No, but it's like we're not random. Like we've been
do we
around
deserve
here.
this?
I've been here for like 30 some odd years.
Yeah.
Like, you know, there's a whole thing that's happening over here.
Well, I guess I have two. Is that the thing that generates? That's not for me. That's those kind of things aren't the thing that really generates imposter syndrome for me.
Okay.
Is that what maybe sometimes makes you think like the people who don't know who you all are?
I think that's part of it.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of things. It's just like, you know, what separates me from just anybody who has an interest in this. It's just that like I decided to do this thing and put all my time into it. But like,
Yeah, I think as much as you try to ignore what people say, it does seep through.
It's funny. Those are sometimes.
And so it's
weird.
like, am I supposed to be here? I don't know.
Sometimes those are the things that actually remind me, because just the way I talk in my head about it, like, the fuck are you? Like,
Dark
those are
Jinx.
things, yeah, evil Jinx. Those are the things that remind me that, nah, I'm here. But I do get imposter syndrome. I think for mine, it's more about peers, you know, or like seeing, I think it's when people that are actually in it are advancing or have commentary about things, or I think those are the moments. Actually, when I'm challenged, this moment that the imposter syndrome goes away. Like, I've had peers in our space say something slick on the internet and be like, yo, what's up? And those are the moments that I'm like, oh, like, I feel super about it and super like I'll stand up for myself and all that other shit. But imposter syndrome kind of happens quietly for me. It's more, it's much more like, damn, these things aren't really coming to me. I think, is it because I'm not really in it like that, you know, or to even be validated or recognized sometimes, right? Like, you wonder if you're in it, you know, or if like if you place a call and you can't make something happen, are you really in it? And those are the moments. But it's weird, man. Like, I think a moment similar to what you're talking about that doesn't give me imposter syndrome, but can kind of leak over to that is like State of the Culture.
Yeah.
I was leaving Complex, and like there was a point at Complex where if you thought of the brand name, you might think of me.
Sure.
Right? And a couple other players there at the same time. And feeling like I really like time I go anywhere, I want to be in the, like, you know, like you play an arcade game and there's names on at the end of the game.
You want to have the high score.
Yeah, I want or at the very least have my initials up there.
Yeah.
With the high ranking number. Like, I want to be on that list.
Would you be like BJJ or something like that?
BTJ, and I
BTJ.
won't tell you all what the T is. I just won't. It's a thing. But
Is it? And this is gonna get bleeped out.
oh my god. The funny thing is the way you said it, you leaned on the T. And like, oh my god.
So maybe.
But yeah, like, it's I want to be up in the rafters, right? And like, that's my thing. I don't want to just be on the team. I want to be high scoring, and like that can remind me of like my place in things. But also, when I was on State of the Culture, I went there and people were like, "Yo, Remy, yo, Joe, yo, Scotty," and people like, "Who's this nigga?" And I'm like, "Oh, really? Like, you guys have never seen Complex?" And then I was like, oh, I don't occupy space in their menu of things.
Right.
And for some people, I don't really care. I don't necessarily need to. But, you know, they're not asking who these other people are in the show. And so that doesn't give me imposter syndrome, but it made me feel like, oh, man, like, you start wondering, what does it take to be big? What does it take to be known? And I've made a decision. I've made a decision that I'm not going to go a certain route. I'm going to go the route I want to go, the way I want to go about it.
Same.
But there's moments you're like, yo, is this... I don't know, being poppin' would make a lot of things easier. Or now I've been in it long enough that I do this thing where it's like, if I did the bullshit, maybe I'd be big enough now that I could come back around and do the wholesome shit. And I don't know, right? And I remember opportunities or moments where someone's like, go do this. And I'm like, nope. Or, this art, we want you to do this show. I'm like, nope. And it's sort of like, do you do the thing that kind of lacks character to get on and then come back? And I'm not saying these people lack character, but I remember a younger Charlemagne being like more of a shock jock, right?
Sure.
I remember Wendy Williams. I remember even academics, right? Like, and I was talking to Ack a couple months ago, and like, he's a little more balanced now. Charlemagne a little more balanced, and I've seen this as a routine in our space, right? Even Joe, when it comes to State of the Culture, he's a lot more balanced than he was on Everyday Struggle. Yeah. And I'm always
I would say the only person that it has not been like that for, which I thought would be the case, but 50 Cent. Yeah. 50 Cent has not grown out of that thing he's doubled down on.
But his balance is, his thing is, I'll be live all the time, but it'll get me in the room and like, I'll produce a good show. Right. I'll prove myself. Yeah. I'll do these things. Yeah. And that's the thought process, right? Like, should I have gone 50? Because like, y'all know a version of me that I'm not. There's a version of me I think is me out in the world, but there's that group chat that, that shit that I think is fucking hilarious.
You're fucking wild.
But like, it, and just like being able to like to talk reckless all the time. And I sometimes wonder like which route is better. I know the route that makes me feel better. Yeah. But it's like, could I have gone wild to at this point in my career come back around and be like, look at me, like I'm wholesome? Or people praise the balance that a wild person, like someone that's wild and they become more balanced. And I'm like, I was always kind of on this side. Like,
actually, I used to be more wild.
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. I think but I don't think that there's much of a road for that, for me to be a wild guy and then still keep doing this kind of thing.
And I guess the thing is like, and not that I'm so wholesome or so balanced, but it's like the version I guess I get, and not that like a YouTube comment will make or break it, but it's like wanting at some point not to cash in, but like where is this taking me? Yeah. What does it actually equal? I can sleep well at night, but like I don't know, I want to sleep well at night in a dope ass apartment.
Same. On your private plane.
Yeah, on my private plane on vacation. Yeah. And so and I see people out there that I think do that, and I'm excited about. Like I told you guys before we started, like just being excited to meet Hassan Minaj. Like because I feel like he does that, and me being like, man, that's really like. He's a testament to people that do that. And I'm like, all right, there's a lane for it. And that to me is the thing that I think, I don't know, it's not imposter syndrome, but it's the thing that makes me wonder about this path.
Yeah. How did you react to your photograph at Nipsey Hussle's going home caravan?
That procession,
It went, and so well-deserved, it went far and wide and was like a redefinition of who you were. How did you take that all in?
Man, it's funny. I looked at your wall and I was like, oh, like I only made one print and I instantly got it framed.
Shout out to Greg Noir.
And I sent it to Greg. I owed it to him 3 months ago. This is how bad I am. So I sent it to him this week.
But we'll tell him that you recorded this 3 months ago. So
yeah, it's like, but I was instantly like, I walked in, I was like, oh, I need to be on this wall, right? And that's how I thought about that photo after. It was like the places that it could be, like
the Smithsonian.
Yeah, like
but also our wall apparently.
Well, I mean, this isn't an
iconic wall,
but it's like you start to look at the companies you keep, and it is Smithsonian-esque, right? Like you look at the books. It's you guys know what I'm talking about, like motherfuckers that are in it, and that's like the aftermath of the photo. It's me thinking like where I wanted to go, or thinking I really wanted the Smithsonian. I was in some early talks and they kind of fizzled out. And like even that again makes me feel like, oh, if I was wild on the internet, I'd have to, I don't know. And really wanting it to be in these places, both for my own accolades, but also like, sorry, that was just really funny.
No, I do want to say, so Anthony Gaithers is our photographer today, and he's working so much harder than anybody else has ever worked. But it's so good.
It is really incredible.
Super excited to have a photo.
Yeah.
But yeah, like so when it comes to the photo stuff, I guess in that moment, I'll just start with the Nipsey thing. Mm-hmm. I was out in LA and I was out with Calmatic, and actually I was out in LA to do some. Was that a vacation? No, it wasn't. I went there to have a meeting with Spotify. And then while I was out there, Calmatic hit me up. And he was like, yo, man, like, we need to connect, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, you know, I have a pass at Nipsey's Memorial. I think you need to go. And I spent some time thinking about it because I know Cal, but it's not like we were super tight at that point. Now I feel like he's like one of my brothers. But that kind of made me feel good. Like, oh, he thinks I should be in there. And like, he likes me enough to invite me to this thing. And when I went, I can't even define the experience. I've still been trying to put into words. Like, you know, extremely emotional. Just the kind of tone of people like outside the building trying to get into the Staples Center and going in there and like just being like overcome with like a ton of emotion, joy, celebration.
Yeah. When that first song hit.
Yeah, 1,500 and nothing. Like,
Yeah.
it was extremely powerful. Right hand to God. Like,
Yeah.
It just hit, you know, but also felt very much like a celebration, but also like we were mourning. I remember seeing Vince Staples walking up the aisle, and I looked over, and I just, you know, I hadn't seen Vince in a long time, and seeing him, and even just the look on Vince's face, you know what I mean? I'd seen Vince in media moments and stuff like that, and we're friendly. And I saw the look in his face and wondered if my face looked like that.
Yeah.
Like, he looked hurt,
Yeah.
you know? But anyway, we go through that whole moment, then we leave, and Cal brings me out. He's like, you know, I think I'm going back to the hotel.
Yeah.
He's like, nah, you know, you going to Crenshaw and Slauson. I need to take you among the people. You need to see this. And this is a guy who has a ton of pride for his city. Cal's like, if you go to LA, he's someone you need to check in with.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And he's just giving me instructions and telling me everything that's around, and kind of like, you know, sightseeing. And we end up at the intersection of Slauson and Crenshaw. And we're waiting all day for the procession to come, And I'll leave out some of the other details, but finally when it arrives, I'm trying to, I walked out of the hotel room with one roll of film. So that was already like kind of a mistake, you know? But anyway, I get there and I'm like, damn, I've been shooting photos all day. And I'm like, oh, I have 3 photos left. Like, this was stupid. I fucked up. And it's coming by. And so I pull out my iPhone, which is something I haven't shot on in forever, and my camera, and I'm shooting both. And I get that photo on my iPhone. I get the Nipsey photo on my iPhone.
Wow.
My actual camera, it's a photo, but it's not good. It's not in focus. It was me. I wasn't even looking through the viewfinder. I just shot.
Yeah.
And I got that photo. And there's another one that goes with it that I haven't posted yet. But it was just capturing people like in black and white. And I got that photo actually off Instagram. You know, like I got that through my Instagram camera. No, I got it off my phone, and then
The filter.
the filter,
Yeah.
and I was like,
Yeah.
it's just it. And I remember feeling like, oh, like, is this a good photo? Like, this doesn't follow my photo rules, but it just wasn't. And I remember thinking, man, maybe I shouldn't post this shit. I don't know. And I was back in the hotel room in downtown LA, and then I just sort of was like, nah, this is making me think a lot, and I need to make sure the caption says what I want it to say. And so I posted them both, and it was late. I mean, it must have been 10 p.m. LA time, but it went nuts, like very quickly. And it just spread and spread and spread to the point where people that I didn't know were showing it to me. And I'm like, oh, that's mine.
Yeah.
And I knew instantly then, I was like, oh shit, I looked at the photo, and I remember it made me feel sort of like, not Biggie funeral, but like presidential, you know, JFK or something.
Yeah.
100%.
And it feels weird to say it, but that's how I felt. And not because I felt that way about Nipsey and the way people were treating him, the way the people were responding to him. People were sitting on top of buildings. The way, you know, I have another photo with him with their hand on the back of the hearse. It just was extremely visceral. And I immediately knew, I was like, people were instantly asking for prints. And I was like, no. One, you ask somebody, someone's like, send me the print. And I'm like, send me the image. I'm like, it's like me being a recording artist, sending you
The files.
my masters,
Yeah,
you know, like, what
right.
the fuck? But also, too, like, nah. Or people are like, yo, I'll buy it. And I was like, look, any one that I do, I'll give out. But this isn't a for sale type situation. This is this man's life. And I remember feeling extremely fortunate to be in LA. And I used to hate LA. It sounds weird, but just the energy of the people was the time I was like, yo,
Yeah.
I know it. But super long with the answer. I don't feel like that changed people's opinion of me at all. You know? And
Really?
like, yeah, I don't think people, that's the thing sometimes, like, you do this stuff, and I think people, like, I don't know. I'd like to think that I'm like a creative person, or like, and not just creative, right? Like, here's some other photos that came out from that event that I'm not necessarily crazy about.
by other people.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
I'm not like I'm not hating. It's not my thing, but like trying to capture like that moment, like people, that feeling, and I felt like it happened, and I felt like it didn't really do nothing. I feel like people sometimes have an idea of like who you are and what you do, and that's it. And these other things are just side notes, they're blips,
Right?
But like I want people to let me take their important photos. I want to have that Nipsey photo in the Smithsonian, not just for it is partially for myself, but also partially because I think that is the photo of that moment. The same way if I saw another person's photo, I'm on the gram. Like I dole out praise pretty heavily and pretty often. Like, yo, that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
And it's not about me. It's not about the person. It's because like that is it. That's the moment. That's the high score on the video game.
Yeah.
It's just fact.
The three of us live in this world, in this space where it's like you don't want to be boxed in something. You also don't, even though you are working for yourself and you are like your own bullhorn, it's like it's a lot, right? It's a lot to be out there and like push your own stuff and celebrate yourself. And it's just like, but at the same time, it's like, should I be comfortable enough with myself that like, and this is true, we were hanging out with Jim Jones last night as friends.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he comes on here and he records for an hour, but afterwards, the shit that we talked about is real life shit.
Yeah.
Same with Bun, the same with the Locks, the same with Lenny S, the same, on and on and on.
I mean, not with everybody though.
No.
Yeah,
with our actual friends.
No, it was just that you listed a bunch of people, and I just didn't want to be like, oh, it's like literally every single person that comes over. No, it's like there's a select few that you have this relationship with,
and it's that means something to me, right? Like we could do something, we could record a podcast today, and no one could listen to it, and that's a fact, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter that it's great art.
They record a podcast for you today, Jinx. No,
No, but
we recorded it. We just didn't put it up.
yeah.
But like people might not listen to any singular episode, right? We recorded ones in lots of cities, and maybe people listen, maybe they don't. But it doesn't mean it's not great, right? And do we need those people to listen to that to validate it?
But it's kind of it's a mix.
Yeah.
I think they don't necessarily validate you, but they have some say in it, right? Like that photo existing, I would still think it was great. But that photo doing laps and numbers allows more people to share that idea or to counter that idea. I mean, I guess I wonder how you all deal with that as well, because like I feel like you all have been doing laps in the podcasting space specifically for a really long time. And I mean, people that like you guys catch people before it happens, in the midst of their lives happening. Some great retrospective conversations. A lot of conversations are one of those things, maybe not all those things. You guys humanize subjects. I think you guys do a good job of subjects that are really already ground level, building them up at the same time. But I also feel like in the last couple months, or this is the year, you all started feeling not more confident, but more like, yo, we've been doing some laps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, how did you reach that point to even feel comfortable enough to say that?
I think that there's this thing where, for us, like, we definitely have respect, but I think that we don't necessarily have support. And so I think that because there's that difference in between the two, then you start to be like, well, if nobody else is going to say anything, then like we're going to have to say it.
And by the way, there's a whole lot of guessing as to like why people won't support, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like it could lead you to wherever. So it's like, should you even worry about what anyone else is thinking?
That's where sometimes the imposter syndrome comes by, right?
Yeah.
Like for me, is the I go places like even someone be like, yo, like, and that's the thing too, is like I've been not fighting for respect, but that's not the end game.
But I
that's
think you
the
have
path.
respect.
Yo,
But I think there's the vocal support which people confuse for respect.
I think, and I think
like where are the Instagram comments?
Yeah, and I think respect is, like you said it really well. So respect and support are different. Respect and placement is different. Like if I go in a room, someone might be like, yo, you're dude from so and so, I'm like, yo, bet, and like, yo, I really respect what you do, and I know that they're not lying. You know, they're not like, oh, you're great, or yo, you're mad funny. They're like, yo, I respect it, and I take a lot of pride in that. And that's the first time I heard it, it felt like an anomaly. I've heard it enough to know that what I'm doing garners that, and I'm getting it. That's what I'm working for.
Yeah.
But then you're like, damn, yo, the other shit too. What does respect look like with all the other things? You know what I mean? And I sometimes wonder, are they mutually exclusive?
Yeah.
Or there's this thing that happens much later down the line, maybe, where your respect comes back around, right?
Yeah.
I think about I think about a Currency, right? A guy who just did laps and mixtapes. He's well respected.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, people know him. He's got the game, but like, you know, he's not Drake.
Right.
You know? And I think about like, or, you know, the trap music versus like lyrical content kind of thing. I feel like I'm, you know, working my way trying to make a Blueprint album versus like whatever the new blah, blah, blah. It's not that I don't like those things or have tendencies of those, but the great thing about Blueprint is it's also commercially successful.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like wanting to live like that. And I think sometimes that it can ignite or kind of tap at imposter syndrome.
Yeah. Well, so like Currency's definition of success is like he's well off. He owns all of those cars,
Yeah.
and he's able to like drive around, listen to all the old school R&B, and like love life. So like he's successful no matter what anyone else like can think out there.
Yeah.
And that's how I'm trying to be now. And like when I say all those people, I'm just like, well, we have their respect.
Yeah.
So it's like we should be good, right? It doesn't matter what like random people do or do not think.
But I think that for us, it's been this thing where we have done everything ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think that we've been fighting to maybe not like build our own buildings or even knock down the doors to other buildings, but for buildings to open their doors and be like, okay, like we can do some stuff with you. And we've never gotten that. Like there have been buildings that have not given a shit about us, and there have been buildings that have given us sort of like lip service, but we've never had that partnership.
Yeah.
And I think we're getting to a place now, finally, where it's like the content industry is finally like in our favor. And so like these meetings are getting to be like very serious, and they're very cool. And it's just like, all right, now you're going to pay for all the time that we did and put this in for free.
Yeah.
What factors do you think have led to this now being sort of, or that the
Well,
the
we were
pendulum
very early
swinging?
on. We were so early on all these things.
That's
like
a big part of it.
Oh
Yeah.
man, being the first person through the door or the first
Yeah.
people through the door as opposed to being like the third
Yeah.
is a huge difference.
like, even excusing like the YouTube stuff, because we were very early on YouTube and there wasn't an economy for YouTube creators back then. And we wanted to get a TV show at a time and we sold a TV show to MTV. It didn't get made for a variety of reasons. But we've been doing this podcast now for 4 years. We had a meeting last week where they were talking about how podcasts are like, everything is shifting that way. Like, we know that Spotify is building out all their studios in LA. There's going to be like 12 different studios out there. Like, everything is moving towards podcasts. And so when they want a reliable name who's been out here for 4 years putting out reliable content, and we can grab all the names, then it's just like, yo.
But I feel like that's the plan. Like that works, right? Like you guys
Yeah.
have done the work. Maybe it didn't like, you don't want to wait 7 years, 8 years, 9 years, 10
No.
years. But
Right.
like, if it's going in your favor, then it sort of feels like the plan worked
yeah.
or is working.
You want to know how far the plan went? The plan was like stay authentic.
Yeah.
Like stay ahead of the curve. It wasn't like this medium or this medium. Like, because again, we've done a lot of things, and you can say at any
Well,
of those stops.
But also, we're going to continue to do those things. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, we do want to do more videos. We do want to do
Yeah.
more music.
Yeah.
We do want to do TV. We want to do interviews, all that stuff.
right.
I
Right.
guess for me, a lot of it is authenticity has been the core thing, right? Do
Yeah.
that to the point where I think that was at one point the only thing, right? Authenticity and like at some sense a sense of regularity.
Yeah.
And then when it became like regularity started to look inauthentic, I tried to start picking placements, and that wasn't really working with the situation I had before. Because then you start realizing like, oh, it's either do it this way or don't get to play. And so now striking out on my own, authenticity is big. I can't say I'm doing too many things that I don't really want to do, but I guess I want more shots at the things that feel authentic to me that I know would work, but not to sell people on that. And also selling people on it isn't just writing an idea and a pitch. It's like having numbers, having a team. Like I finally got, a sort of like management type person in my corner that I feel like is going to help shift some of these things. But like, it's that thing, but it's not the thing. Like, it's not me ripping someone's video, throwing like my sort of handle on it. And I'm like, why is that the thing that people go towards?
Yeah.
Right.
And being like, that's not it for me. I
Yeah.
get it. It serves a purpose. I'm not questioning the value of it. I just don't know. Actually, no, I am kind of questioning the value of it. I don't know if it feels like that has like a luxury price on it, or is at least maybe it's so cheap that there's so many of it. And I'm trying to make luxury goods
Yeah.
Yeah.
with my content. I'm trying to make,
By the way, so I know that you've talked about it, and I know that I've talked about it, but I do think that it would be valuable to have this thing of people who are sort of in the space and having like meetups, where it's just like you can talk about all these things that none of us seem to really talk about.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, like, also when you're doing this thing and you're making anything that feels like yourself, if you're putting yourself out there, inherently it starts to get lonely only because most people aren't putting themselves out there, right?
Yeah.
So, like, there's a minimal group of people who do that. And then also, too, if you're making anything, a lot of that lives in your head to make the thing, right?
Yeah.
Like whether you're formulating questions, picking what lens you're going to come out with and what the places you're going to be at and trying to make the best thing. And then there's the aftermath of making the thing. Did I do this right? The ifs, the don'ts, the imposter syndrome, the I want to do it this way. Oh, I like what they're doing. It's your brain is naturally working much harder than most people because you're doing the thing, watching yourself do the thing. You know, it's like you're the player, you're the coach, you're the fan, you know, you're the commentator, and you're hoping someone's buying jerseys, you know, and so like it's all those things at once, and I don't know, I don't know what the content landscape is for people that are doing all those things, you know, and like what that society looks like, because I mean
it's Los Angeles.
Yeah,
that's what it is. It's all these kids who are just like subscribe below, like that sort of like it's that you lose your all whatever personality you have.
Yeah, it
just becomes all just like, you know, make sure to follow.
And I feel like also extremely critical too. Like, and I try not to ever be a hater, but I do feel extremely critical of the space that we're in and the people that are doing things. Not that everything I do is a hit, because I'd be the first to be like, I don't think I'm like, I'll do a DJ set and someone's like, yo, and you bodied that. I'm like, nah, I missed, but I'm the player. I can see the shots that maybe were missed, right? But
it's also okay to accept that praise. Like I know we've done a lot of things that were like, you know, medium. Like we've done there were sketch videos that were like medium. There were podcast episodes that were medium. But people, it's how they were affected, and it's like it's okay to like be like, your experience was great, then I'm really happy for that. Like our Max B video was not a fun experience for us, but
classic.
It's people's favorite, right?
It's legendary.
Yeah. So it's like,
oh, man.
how do you measure that? It's like, okay, cool. I'll accept that. I'll put my feelings, you know, over there and move forward. You know.
Have you guys talked to Max's people? Like, I
feel
like y'all gotta be.
It's coming.
Okay.
Yeah.
It almost happened during the 12 days, but we didn't pursue it.
Right.
Yeah.
Wait, like he's not out, right?
No.
Okay, I was like, wait a second, you guys know something.
And it was more that it was like we'd rather not do a phone call for a limited amount of time. We'd rather have a actual discussion. So let's look forward to that.
Yeah, I feel like this is like an extremely dark episode, but like, no, I don't want it to be dark. I just like I feel like it's this has been an interesting year for me thinking about what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, what I want to do in the future, and all that isn't just like punching, you know, writing on a paper and punching a keyboard. It's the mental space and emotional space it takes to do these things. And when I was saying being critical, I also feel like not the industry, but like I don't believe in a lot of the shit that goes on in our space either, too. Like,
I mean, it's all just like, you know,
what?
Smoke and mirrors.
Yeah, like from like, you know, certain presentations.
Call him out, Jinx. Do it.
Nah, you know. But the thing is,
but the fact that you thought about it makes me so happy
because I had to think about who maybe it is. But it's like it's the worst part about it is that it's less about it being a person. It's more like an ethos or an idea.
Yeah.
And I watch like good minds get spoiled because they were headed down another path. And again, do what you want, but why do you want that, right? And then go another direction. Or like, I think we're in a spot now where like creating narratives, and like. You know, it's like, if you have to keep telling me this thing, how real is it? Like, or like, you know, or people like, well, no one celebrates me. It's like, well, because you're throwing yourself parades every week. Like, what the fuck? Like,
sometimes the narrative is all that they have.
But I will say, so
like, there's no substance.
Eric and I sometimes disagree on how much we need to call attention to ourselves. You know, mostly me being the one who's just like, you know, down on it, and Eric being like, no, like we deserve this. Mm-hmm. And so I do think that there is this thing where there's no perfect combination of that thing.
No, there isn't. And trying to get to a spot too where you're like, yo, what makes me comfortable? And so I think the thing is like you all, like making authentic content, making content that you all are like if someone sent this to me, I would listen to it. That
Yeah.
kind of thing, right? And I think there's always going to be that push and pull of wanting other people to like what you do. It's like, you know, when you get dressed in the morning, not that you need a compliment, but if someone says nice outfit, you're like, yo, I'm glad you see it too. I chose these things.
Yeah.
Or, you know, buying someone a nice gift, right? And being like, yo, I want you to have this because this is what I think. And I'm like, yo, I really like it. And it makes you happy that they're happy that you know, it's a volleying back and forth. And I think that inevitably you should feel something personal about what you're doing. But some of it feels like it's not even about what they're doing. It's just like, it's not about the volley. It's not about the like, I put this out, I hope you guys fuck with it. It's more like, I don't really have anything to put out. I just want you guys to fuck with me because I exist kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that to me feels like that's being muddied up or somehow in the same field as the people who are actually making things. And I'm like, well, like do that, but just go over there with it. Like why does this look like the same thing?
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. It's I feel sometimes most at peace about it all when I don't think about this as an industry. When I'm just sort of like, like even this year I thought this episode was going to be about like my favorite albums this year. And I was thinking,
Did music even come out this year? Like, I honestly,
you know what's crazy is for a good part of the year, I was making a list of things that I liked. But
was that just for like,
well, you know what? I'll say
because
this.
everything moves so quickly that you want to hold on to?
It's all those things, but they tie in together about me not looking at this thing as an industry as much, right? Or not trying to watch the whole space as much, because like when I don't work at Complex anymore, I realized I was out the loop for so many things. Like
Yeah.
I would catch so much new shit by like sitting next to Angel Diaz or Frazier or you know a Joe LaPuma or Cariza or whoever it was that was in the office.
David Amaya.
You know, like
Oh, from the Thrasher photo. Yeah.
yes, like, you just catch it just by being in proximity to people. You know, I work from home mostly now, and so I realized I was out the loop for so many things, but also that made me really have to look for things or really have to like, you know, even getting a link in a group chat is like, oh, if people like this, I should check it out, and that distance made me actually try to focus in on certain things or realize maybe I'm not as up to date or as connected as maybe I need to be or wanted to be. A lot of that was just the seat that I had maybe. And be like, oh, but also maybe I'm not catching some of the shit I don't care about.
Right.
Because the things I'm naturally drifting towards are really me. And that's the same thing about the industry is like, when I'm plugged into Twitter every day and like I hate Twitter now, but I'm still on that shit talking crazy. But like, or less crazy now, but you know, it's when I'm plugged into those things every day, it's some version of that first thing, right? Where I'm seeing a bunch of shit I don't really care about, or like clocking things that don't really matter to me as much, and it's sort of that believing that this thing is necessarily industry instead of like I should just be fucking with what I fuck with, you know?
So we were down in Atlanta together, Red Bull Music Festival, and we were all at Mike Well Made It studio.
Yeah.
And everybody else leaves, and we were all very privileged to be in the studio with Mike and Toomp.
This is crazy.
Working on beats. And none of us Instagram lived it. You know, none of us were like tweeting like, hey, guess where we are? And like, you know, putting a location tag on that. It was like, I'm sure for you too, but like enjoying like what an honor it was to hear these guys create. And all we did was sit in that room and watch and like whisper to each other and be like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not, you know, a new kid. It's not some, you know, pop-up shop. It was just like, this is music. We love music, and none of this is industry.
And a lot of it just taught me more about how those things work too, right? Like my homie Spencer is a kid that's working with Mike Wills, a kid from my neighborhood in Jersey. And I was like, how, like, you know, God willing, things crack for Spencer, and it'll be like, yo, he was that kid in that room, and like, that's tight. But also too, I don't want to be like the angry dude, but it's like everything is not a fucking moment. Everything's not a pitch. Everything's not a bit like, you know, if I'm walking down the street and, you know, people just, you know, like everything's not, I don't know where people got this idea. I feel like I call a lot of it college dropout ethos of like, stand on a table, I can do anything I want. I don't need any type of formal anything.
Right.
You know, believe in yourself. That's really what matters. But like, yo, that motherfucker, you forgot the part where he did 5 beats a day for 3 summers.
Yeah.
He's in Newark.
Yeah,
Like,
there's a lot of just like entitlement of just like,
in moments.
Yeah.
In moments. And we're in the attention economy. I want to say maybe Carly spoke about this before. Maybe that's where I got the term from.
shouts to Carly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like she understood that she understands it very well, and she gets it. And I think like a lot of us, I think she holds frustration towards it too, and valid frustrations, but also valid like, it allows her to actually calibrate her value system really well because she sees it for what it is. But everything's not a moment. We don't need to be plugged in every day. And it's small stuff, how just this sense of privacy is gone, this sense of connectivity is gone by people feeling always connected. Like, kids like, yo, man, why the fuck do you turn off your Apple Music listening to list? I can't see what you're listening to. I was like, because I don't want you to see what I'm listening to. Like, what do you mean? Like,
Yeah.
But like, people are just sharing stuff, and I realized if you're sharing everything all day, you're actually not really like, what's the value? Like, it's like me taking a picture of this Popeyes soda. Like, it's just nothing anymore. You're just getting things to get.
Wait, why did you have to say that it was a Popeyes soda, James?
Yeah, like,
look at you oversharing,
right? And it's like, or like, even if you post, and everyone's minds are kind of corrupted. Like, if you post some sneakers that you really like, someone thinks it's an ad.
Yeah,
you're like, nah, I just really like these, and sometimes it is an ad, but this time it isn't. And I realized they think they're being more discerning, but they're really not. And
right.
Everything's not a moment. Everything is not
a museum fact.
Right.
Yeah. Everything doesn't need like the time, date, description. It just doesn't. And I think that people are getting really far away from real life, and they're getting really far away from appreciating anything. It's about like keeping up, like fitting in, doing the thing. But motherfuckers aren't doing anything.
There's a very small difference between like 100 likes and 1,000 likes.
Mm-hmm.
We had this meeting the other day, like I said, and in that meeting, there was no talk about how many downloads our podcast gets. There was no talk about
Twitter follows or
Instagram likes. None of this.
Activity
It's just it's all about how good is your product, and like a company will come in and they will blow it out the water to where it's like, you were getting this, now you're getting like 100 times this.
Yeah.
And it's just like, as soon as you see that that's, the way that things work, then you take that pressure off yourself to keep up with, like, we're not going to be getting the same numbers as a Complex on our own. We're not going to be getting the same numbers as any Viacom company. Like, it's an unfeasible thing. And so the fact that like a company can come in and just do that, then it's just like, all right, then the whole game changes. It's just like whatever. And I feel like you're somebody who thinks about things a lot, possibly overthinks.
Yeah, I think that's what I do.
That's textbook Jinx.
Yeah.
And so like I think that that you need to take that pressure off yourself.
Yeah.
And realize that like, no, you're not competing with all these people who work inside buildings. You're competing with yourself and your happiness and all that stuff.
And sometimes it's not even necessarily competition as much as it's like caring. You know what it feels like too, and I think it's a naive stance often, but like, the other day I was thinking about Angie, because she was talking about coming back to the radio. I'm like super excited for her to come back.
Big shout out to Angie.
Yeah, and like
Arande,
I'm such a fan of Angie, and like I really am. I remember meeting her for the first time and being like legit nervous, and like I do kind of have that like childlike purity to it of like turn on the radio and Angie's there, right?
Yeah.
And like just rocking with Angie because I rocked with Angie.
Yeah.
And like, and then I meet her and I'm excited about what she means to me and to music culture and hip hop. And like, even I remember like earlier days of buying Supreme, like I bought it because like for the value that I thought it had.
Oh, here we go with the Supreme stuff again.
But like,
Yo, do you even know the history of it?
Yeah, like, do you even skate, bro? But like, and then,
You ever been to Lafayette Street? Like, you ever stood in line for 3 days?
But like that motherfucking kid, he's trying to tap into what I actually really felt because he probably doesn't feel that. That's why he used to go around testing motherfuckers, right? He almost got knocked out. But like, it's
yeah, by Amir.
Yeah, right. Like,
Amir with that Virginia energy coming strong.
Right. He wasn't playing,
right?
Yeah.
But like, not faking it. Like I think a lot, but also like I care a ton.
Yeah,
I really do. And it's less about competition sometimes as much as it's like, where's this shit headed?
Yeah.
And I think outside of it, you wonder about that, but when you're on the inside, you wonder about it as well. And being like, I think a lot about like when people stop like writing, and it's like, well, if you stop writing, do we raise more writers? If it's kissy faces on Instagram stories, like, do we raise more people that do that?
Right.
And I think it's both valid and extremely like useless sense of paranoia, but like I care a lot, you know what I mean? And so like if that's the same way if someone says, I respect you, it means a lot to me.
Yeah.
But they come from the same place.
Yeah.
So it's not always a sense of like this embattled, persona of like, oh, where's the real? You know, but like it's wow, the name actually. But you know, it's
Shout out to Adrian Bailon.
Yeah,
Tamar
yeah,
Braxton.
exactly. Yeah. The real. Yeah.
But like, you know, it's just that I care a lot, you know, and I think anyone that knows me and like knows like I do, like I love a good interview. I love a good pair of sneakers. I love good art, you know, like I'm in here and I'm like, oh shit, I want to be on this wall because this is a good ass wall.
Yeah, I appreciate
you know,
that.
like it's that simple.
Lenny S felt the same way, by the way.
Yeah.
Did he?
Yeah. And so he came over with like a
That Nipsey.
I've never met Lenny. You're
You're
That's
kidding
crazy.
me.
Yeah, no, I never met him. And
Oh.
we've been like one time I was walking down because Rock Nation building was near Complex, and I was walking to go get lunch, and I saw him, and he looked at me, and I just nodded, and then he kind of nodded back, and I stuck my hand out, and then he dapped me, but like the way my hand was set up, it wasn't a good dap, and I just was like, oh shit, and I just kept walking, but I've never actually met him, but
Wait, was that your worst handshake?
no, there's certain people I brick it with every time. Where I'm like, now I just like don't shake my hand, like don't.
My worst one was so I was at Elliot Wilson's birthday party. Drake shows up. The entire party just like leaves and tries to go around Drake.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just standing back, whatever. And then Eric comes over to me and he's like, yo, we should leave, but we should say goodbye to Drake. So I'm like, okay. And we've met him before. He knows who we are, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so we walk over there. I say goodbye to Elliot, and Drake is standing there. And there's like a lot of like lights happening. There's like all these lasers and shit. And
Okay.
so all the lasers seem to be pointed in my eyes. Drake is standing there for a solid 45 seconds just with his hand out, waiting for me to shake his hand. And then I finally saw it, and I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And that was the last time we talked to Drake.
Fuck. Did you actually dap him up?
Yeah.
Yeah, but he was like, I'm good. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, he's like, yo, someone's playing with lasers and shit.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. Damn, what's a weird dap?
Do you have a weird one?
I mean, yeah, like, because LA does it differently, you know,
Oh.
and you come back to New York and you try to like get back because they'll do the handshake in the middle of it,
Yeah.
and then I'm like back in New York and I'm trying to like, you know, say hi to people that I've known for a decade, and it's like, I don't know, man, I'm just fucking this up.
You also
know?
have Hup.
Yeah, that I was in college. I was very excited that this girl who was from our town, I was a senior, she was a freshman. I heard she was coming to Syracuse. So I run into her for the first time in the bookstore, and it's like 2 flights, and I'm heading down and she's heading up. And I meant to say hey, and I meant to say what's up, and it came out as hup.
Damn.
And she just looks at me, and I ran away. I was like,
Damn.
fuck that. Like, I'm not driving you home. It's back to, you know, I was just, yeah.
I've gotten to the point where like that's why like even if I'm like in social settings, like you go out DJing and that stuff, I don't smoke weed because it makes me so awkward.
Right.
And like it just throws off the handshakes, throws off the like yo, what's up? I'm like I answer a question they haven't asked, and then they're there, and I just walk off. I can't do that.
No
shit. Like,
requests. Yeah.
yeah, no, like, oh my, wait. First of all, have I done that to any of y'all before?
No.
Because I've
Yes.
Yeah.
Every single time I'm like, yo, Jinx, play some Egyptian Lover. And you're just like, no.
No, actually, the only thing that happened was that after, and I'm so fucking proud of your DJ sets and Corey's DJ sets.
Corey's out of control.
Yo,
What did Corey
especially-
do? Corey did Pop
Mariah
Smoke into
Carey.
Mariah Carey.
Yeah,
Or Mariah Carey into Pop Smoke.
I just before you go
Yes.
any further, I didn't know that was like a thing of people throwing Mariah Carey and stuff. And I've seen
Yeah.
people do the Soulja Boy thing, and
Yeah.
I'm glad to keep seeing that happen on Instagram and thinking it's kind of played.
Yeah.
And seeing Corey go the route he went, it was fucking insane.
Yeah.
It's so much fun watching a good DJ set. It's the closest thing I think. It's like watching courtside basketball, like it's like knowing how to play basketball and watching basketball.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
To see the decision making, Corey, he's one of the best DJs in New York City right now. I can say that.
He
with
comes from
confidence.
strong lineage.
Yeah.
But it's like,
But he denied it for so long. You
Yeah.
know, it's hard to live under that, you know, umbrella. But
yeah.
man, he's killing it. Okay, so I saw you guys spin at Kinfolk.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
you guys destroyed, and I was so excited. I had to leave, and I texted you later after that set, and I said to both of you, guys, even though I only caught the first couple hours of yesterday's event and wish I could have stayed for the rest, what I heard of you guys playing individually and in tandem was outstanding. The vibe you guys created with moods, references, tempos, and taste level were beyond dope and beyond expectation. Super excited to see this party grow and you guys take your talents to levels not yet even imagined. And you know what you guys responded with? Nothing.
Bet.
Nothing. So, by the way, it makes you feel better that I'm one of the 135.
But no, I remember that text, and the thing is, it's like, oh, so you saw it and didn't say anything. That was a crazy day, and that was a moment where like that to me is like move everything aside. Like you were there and you were like, yo, this is just good, right? Like if we were strangers, I imagine you would have came to the booth like, who are you? You know, and like that to me is like. There's moments I'll deny other things because I really feel like maybe they're not great. That was a fucking great DJ set. And to me, like, those are those good moments that, like, not that the culture needs, but, like, I don't know. I'll be in a DJ set, I'm like, this isn't that good for my own or someone else's. And, like, or, like, when Corey started doing good, it's like, yo, motherfuckers, lift him up. Like, he's great at what he does. Let's talk about it. Let's tell people.
And I just want to say, just to give people an idea of what the set was like, you guys were both on the set. It's like you guys were doing this dance, you know, like you would rotate in and out. And as somebody who works with, you know, his brother, I can relate to that. I understand, you know, the cues, and I understand trying to, you know, maintain and like excel. And you guys did that, which is a talent in itself.
It was like a shorthand. It's one of those things of like another DJ I think is like that is Ant Blue. You kind of let him get in the driver's seat because he's a little more reckless, and you let him go, and you try to. It's like commentary, you know. It's like
Wait, I want you to explain that metaphor. You let him in the driver's seat because he's more reckless.
Yeah, like you let him. If you try to drive, it's because we're. You know what? Maybe not drive seat. We're in.
I'm gonna be honest. We took an Uber back to LAX the last time we were in LA, and our driver was reckless, and I loved it.
Yeah,
I did. I was like, "Yo, we cut out half our time."
No,
I was
they
drive like Bruce Wayne.
This is genius.
No, that was aggressive. That's not reckless.
Like not even like I'll say
Reckless is like wrong way down the street,
I'll say there's two. We're racing, right? There's two of us racing.
knocking over mailboxes.
You let him. He's the lead car because like he's gonna make the turn, and you're gonna turn behind him. That kind of thing. Where like because he's creative as fuck. He's confident. I think a lot of times he plays for himself. And so sometimes you're in conversation back and forth. Sometimes you're in response to something someone else is saying or doing or playing. I think that day me and Corey were in conversation with each other, right? Yeah. And there's times where Ant's like that too. But anytime Ant's playing, most times it's like most DJ sets are a monologue. It's one person talking, one person playing. If you get the chance to play with Ant, a lot of times I'm like, yo, go crazy, get crazy. With Corey, a lot of it is like, he sees things in a structure that I don't really see sometimes. So a lot of times I come and just fuck it up. Like I'll just go right, and he's like, "Oh shit!" And that stuff is fun. And I think that to me is like one of those moments I'm like, "Yo, it feels like the right thing." And then when you have a set like that, it's dope to be doing something and know it in the moment.
Yeah.
Like I've never what. To me, it's like I think about getting in the zone, right?
Oh my
Sometimes
God.
I try to think about like a Jordan. I'm like, yo, Jordan got in the zone a couple times, and then I remember having this thought process of even like a Jay-Z or Jordan, any of these people, realizing all the factors that surround you getting in the zone and trying to create that so you can get into the zone at will. And like, that's a really hard thing. I think the greats can do it at will.
So what are your zone moments? Was there Coach and P and Migos and all of them? Was that a zone moment? Did you know it then?
No, because before, you know what, it was rough trying to get them to open up. They don't, they're sitting there with their arms crossed. They don't really want to be a part of it. Coach is trying to make this thing happen.
So what were some ones that like worked?
The moment that went into the zone was when we were actually we weren't breaking, but P had just said all this shit about some deal that they had and how it went wrong and how he did. You could tell Coach and him kind of didn't want to talk about it, but he did. And then P's like, yo, I just gave you an exclusive and said something. And then when I said run it up, that was how I would talk if I was talking to you all.
Yeah.
But like I said it and it was kind of awkward because they're like, what? And then they started laughing. I was like, oh, okay, cool. I'm in it. Right. And like those moments where you can just be yourself. I think when you make things, you want to be yourself. You want to offer some version of yourself that's out there and let people tap into it and fuck with it, whether it's a joke, a guest you really want to get, or the way you look, or it's songs you're playing. That was a moment where I was like, I'm in the zone. I think another one was really early on in my career. It was Gambino. We had the South by Southwest house, and he walked by. I was like, he performed. It's like the last day of South by Southwest. We're in this really small room. Like it's a house. It's a living room. And he's like, I'm not going to do the interview. And then Fam saw me, and Fam was like, oh, yo, we fuck with you. And I'm like, oh, sick. And so that that raises the stakes for sure. But now I'm like, oh, cool. Like, I've been working at Complex for like less than a year at that point, like maybe 6 months. So I'm like, oh, damn, all right, cool. Gambino sits down, but because it's the end of South by, all the business people in suits drinking like some caffeinated Mountain Dew.
Yeah,
or like,
sponsored beverage.
Yeah, like really crazy drinks actually. Some energy drink Mountain Dew with like a logo with like a lightning bolt. And they all sit down and now they're watching. And I don't do interviews like that, It's like now there's a crowd of like people that are kind of buzzed and lit. I was randomly at homecoming this year, and a dude I went to school with, I forgot he was randomly in the room. He's like, yo, I haven't seen you since that moment. He's like, to see you do that and to see where you're going is amazing.
Wow.
I forgot he was there. But this room is like 20 people now in this small living room, and Childish Gambino's right here. And the volleying, I don't even think the content interview is that crazy. We started talking about World Star and then the internet, and it got kind of deep. Like, shit we talking about now, like, where the internet's going, people's attention, what it means. And he was basically saying where he was about to go in his career. Like,
wow.
I don't care about that shit. Like, I see it for what it is. But there wasn't a low. He'd make a comment that I think would throw some people off. But, and it might sound weird, but like, you see a couple people out in the space and you know that you all draw from the same well.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
He and I draw from a similar well. And it just worked. And to the point where when it stopped, people were applauding.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn. So those are moments like that I know
Man.
I'm in the zone. And it's like a good DJ set is a great version of that, because a lot of stuff I do now it's not paced like that. It's not an interview.
Yeah.
It's not.
But I also think that there is that extra oomph when you have that live audience. You
Oh
know,
my
that
God.
like when we did the Rockefeller thing.
I was just thinking that. Yeah.
Like that was.
And it's funny too, because like no one's talking. It's silent in there, and there's 600 people in there, and it's like, that's for me. I was like, oh, we're doing something. And this is after all the bullshit that you have to deal with around it, right? Like getting people in, the list, the fucking police, like everything that's going into it, whether Jim Jones is going to actually be able to be on stage, all this stuff. And that was his own moment, like for sure.
Yeah.
SOBs was his own moment. Like I remember being in London with Semtex. That was his own moment. It was just, there's a difference.
You know what else? There was our first red carpet that we did for the BET Awards. Mm-hmm. And nobody knew who we were. All these publicists just found out like while we were on the carpet, and they were like, oh, like this is different. And so then they started like, everybody was there, and they all started crowding around us every time we would do an interview. And
Cole and Ross and everybody who.
No, even the pre one, the one with MC Light.
Oh,
that
got
dinner.
it. The day before. Yeah. The pre-dinner.
And so like all these people, every time we would talk to anybody, every single person who was doing talent,
right,
dropped their microphones and would come over and watch us, and like that felt like we were doing.
You're doing something special and different.
I think I felt that way with. I'm trying to think of any other interviews that have been like that or moments. I feel like for whatever reason, probably the amount of times it's mentioned on State of the Culture, but as a sort of like punchline, but like Ferguson for real.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was like a moment where I was like, oh, I'm just in it, and not a zone that necessarily even felt, but I was just in it.
Yeah,
like that Nipsey photo felt like that. Like you're like, oh, this is it. Like you just feel extremely alive. You feel, that like. Whatever that is, I think live audiences is that for sure. DJing, it's why your friends being there really helps.
Because even our Travis interview, which is a thing that gets posted every single day.
Yeah,
it doesn't make me feel like I'm in the zone. There was no audience there. I didn't feel it in that moment. I mean, it was fun, and I guess it did feel special in a way. But I didn't think that we would still be talking about it.
7 years later, or whatever. Yeah.
Also, my zone sometimes it's weird. Like it doesn't necessarily need other people as well too. Like they have a part in it, but it's not like I think about the people who their zone probably always comes after the fact, because like they're just doing something, and it's always coming after people say they fuck with it. And I'm not like people that make viral content or sort of like divisive content or problematic content or like fast food shit. But I think they make so much of it that they don't even know what the zone feels like. But it's finna hit. Something's gonna hit. But like sometimes my zone is even moments of like Kobe Kendrick didn't feel like the zone at first, and then there's a moment later where Kobe opens up, and then Kendrick sees Kobe opening up, and he goes, I'm like, oh, I'm in the zone. And sometimes you wish the zone was longer, right? Or I think about what was another moment that felt like that?
I'm so happy that like none of our zones are like going to the grocery store and finding like all the milk and throwing all the fucking gallons of milk on the floor and recording that. Like, imagine if that's like your thing.
And I think those,
you feel great about doing that.
I think those moves that a lot of times, like whatever that group of creator or person is, that's actually them searching for the zone.
Mm-hmm.
That's them searching for it, and it's not even the zone. They're searching for the zone can lead to a certain after effect. They're searching for that after effect. It doesn't mean it came by way of the zone. It means they just like, it's like enticing. It's they're not. It's not like you're being tested and you rise to the occasion. They're trying to create situations, right? And like, I think hopefully we hope to do well enough that these situations come to us. But like, trying to think the zone. I'm trying to think of like when I've seen someone else in the zone.
Can I just say, every single time that all of us have been saying the zone,
You think of Swiss Beats?
No, I keep thinking of Puzzone, which is a Pizza Hut promotion that was
actually delicious.
But
like a little bit too heavy on the ricotta for all of them, but like
they weren't using ricotta.
Yeah, that was probably just Elmer's glue.
But like that's like where my head's at. So like I've been just thinking, like just play this thing back.
You were like grinning. I was like, I don't know what's here.
I'm just thinking about pizza this entire time.
Jeff's in a different zone.
I really do.
Or AutoZone.
I really do want to think of like a moment like that I felt.
But yeah, Swizz Beats does say zone all the time.
Zone.
Kind of weird too. Sometimes the zone comes. It's weird. Like I think about the Mariah Carey interview where she touched my leg. Right?
But she was trying to get in the zone.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That wasn't the zone. And it's
big zone.
But like the moment is like we're doing the interview and like, all right, we have 3 questions, and she's like, what do you mean 3 questions? Like, how are we going to have a conversation?
Yeah.
And she's already made it cool to be in the zone.
Yeah.
Like, we're volleying back and forth. Or when you watch that guest and they sort of turn their head in that way of like, yo, let me think real quick.
Yeah. Do you find that like the bigger artists are easier to talk to? Because I do.
Yeah, I think sometimes too when I also take the pressure off of it. Like Mariah Carey's so big that I'm just I sort of rise to the occasion, right?
Yeah.
It's like I remember meeting Jay-Z and like instantly being like, it's almost like self-induced coma, right?
Yeah.
Where I'm like, he's so crazy that I'm like, he's like, what up? I'm like, yo, what up? You know?
Yeah.
As opposed to like, you know.
Well, Jay, I found, so I was, and Corey can tell the story too. Like, I was so nervous before I was about to interview Jay-Z. I was like, my first question was literally going to be like, has anybody ever thrown up in you? Because like I'm about to. Like, I was so nervous. And then when I actually walked over to him, I just felt like the most calming, just like presence, and I was just like, and then he complimented my hat. I asked him if he wanted it. He said no.
So you know what's funny is that so when Jeff will tell that story. Jeff will, compare it. He'll be like, "Oh, big time guest, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like Jay-Z. I get nervous for Jay-Z." On the other hand,
I got super nervous for Cash Out.
So that's what Jeff says, like on a regular basis. He's like, and it's a funny punchline until Cash Out shows up in. And
and I got nervous again?
No. Now he's killing it, and he's like, yeah, you can't use him as a punchline anymore.
I'm trying to think who.
But he's used it as sort of a punchline, as like this is 2012. That's like the whole bit.
It's still good. Still good.
Anyway, sorry to ruin for anybody out there.
That's right. Damn, ItsTheReal. Man, I'm trying to think.
But no, I found that Jay-Z was just like super easy to talk to. I thought that Stevie Wonder was super easy to talk to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm trying to think who else. Like there's just been like Rick Ross is super easy to talk to. Like there's a certain when you're that polished that you've been around that many people, like you don't really have that guard up in the same way that I think like a lot of younger artists sort of come in with.
Yeah, and I think some people are also great at not getting you in the zone, but getting rid of your nervousness so maybe you have a chance at finding the zone. Like Bun B is that.
Oh, man.
And like we'll recognize you want to be like, well, be like, yo, what up?
Yeah.
And you're like, man, Bun probably don't even know my name. And then 2 questions, I'm sorry, what's your name again? And then you're like, yo, you just unpack that perfectly.
Oh,
Yeah.
Busta's like that.
Yeah.
Have you
met Busta?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if it went well or not. But like, like some people are great at those things. And I try to learn a lot of that too. Cause, the more you do this thing, you kind of get caught in the middle. You're not just the interviewer or the person, people are coming up to you as well.
Yeah.
I'm trying to handle that well. And I don't think I do that well, but
it's funny. We were talking about, being in the zone. And yeah. And I thought back to when the 3 of us were traveling down to Miami for another Red Bull thing a year and change ago, right? Is it 2 years at this point? No.
No,
2 years.
This time last
Last year. Okay, yeah, that's right.
I don't know.
It was a year ago, and
I'm just saying things. I don't know.
and I remember, and this is a very long story that we will tell on another podcast on another day. But when the three of us finally got on a flight at 6 o'clock in the morning, and it was a miracle that we got on, you got recognized at that second airport that we had to go to, and I was like, man, Jinx is in a zone right now. This dude, walking up to him right in that moment.
That when I was thinking about last year, I felt like I was in this this zone, this career zone.
Yeah.
And you kind of want that feeling all the time. And you realize, no, that's not often. I think I was so happy for it because I really did feel like I was on the bench for the year and a half before that.
For
We're
sure.
trying to make these things. We're trying to get this show popping, trying to do these things outside the company and really feeling stifled. And starting to feel like, yo, this fades, will it come back?
Yeah.
Really, so when it comes there, you're so happy for it. And it's in different moments. It's the work you do. It's how people recognize the work, yourself. When they do recognize you, they're not saying, they say something valuable to you or something that means a lot, all that. But I don't know if I always think of that as the zone. You know what I think about when I really feel like I'm in
Pizza?
the zone? I remember when I graduated, they give superlatives, right, for school.
Yep.
When I left school, I walked away with 2 superlatives. And I remember wanting to get best dressed, but I wasn't. This kid Jerron got it. He deserved it. He bodied school. But
Wait, what were you wearing?
the lesser version of what Jerron was wearing. You know?
Yeah, agreed.
But I was definitely dressing like Dipset. But we're all New Jersey, so that's worthy of a trophy.
Yeah, mm-hmm.
But there was 2 things that I got. And so I got Prom King. But the thing that really
talk about it.
But the thing that really mattered was I got Class Clown. And that was I used to go to the lunchroom. I would skip class to go to the lunchroom to light tables up. And sometimes I get bummed because I'm like, do I still have that? You know, because I can't get it how I used to get it.
Yeah.
Or I don't try to because it was vicious.
Mariah was trying to get it to you.
In the zone.
Yeah.
But that feeling of that is funny, or it's not stand up, but jokes and moving at that pace and to the point where whoever wants it can get it. Just that I'm always in it. It would result in verbal comedy, physical comedy. I was just I was always on.
Yeah.
And so that's why that nod in whatever yearbook that is somewhere in my house is valuable to me. In a way that feels like the zone. And sometimes when things are going a certain way in the career space, it feels like that feeling. It feels like that feeling of going to the lunchroom and being able to sit at a lunch table and be like, all right, who's got jokes?
Yeah.
And be able to do anything you want with that. And that feels like I sometimes think it probably feels like a really good stand-up set.
Yeah. No, listen, I think that since you graduated from Complex and have gone on to, your own career that you were in charge of, I think that you've been killing it on everything that you've been doing.
Thank you.
Again, DJing, photography, writing, hosting, podcasting. You are yourself, you're authentic, and you've been killing it. And it's quite all right that you haven't responded to all of these texts because you know what? We're proud to be top 135 dead or alive. You know what I'm saying? Yo, Jinx, thanks so much for coming through.
Yeah.
We appreciate you, and we'll talk to you soon.
I feel like this podcast would have gone different if I slept a bit. I'm yeah, guys, pour some liquor out. No, thank you, guys.
Thanks, everyone, for listening to this new episode of A Waste Time with It's The Real, day number 11 of the 12 Days of Podcast, our 4th annual run of 12 episodes in 12 days. Jeff, if people want to find out more about us, I'm Eric with the curly hair. That's Jeff with the glasses. Together, we are It's The Real, no apostrophe, no spaces. If people want to find out more about this podcast, it's called The Waste of Time with It's The Real. If people want to find out more about what's going on with us, Jeff, where can they go?
You can always go to ItsTheReal.com, ItsTheReal.com. Go to our website. Go check out our newsletter. Check out our shop. Go click on some links. We got everything there. Everything you could possibly want is at ItsTheReal.com. Also, we are on Twitter at ItsTheReal and Instagram at ItsTheReal, and we are on all streaming platforms. I'm talking about Spotify and Apple and Google Play and YouTube and all those. We are not on Tidal.
But you know what?
That we're not on. But, we're working on it.
Yeah.
Man, you can already, you can just sense how tired I am, right? I'm sorry, everybody. We are not Untitled. I love everybody at Title.
Shout out to Title.
And it will happen. This is a conversation that's going on for way too long.
Jeff, this is the part of the podcast where we like to shout people out. So who, Jeff, do you want to shout out?
I want to shout you out, Eric.
Oh, Jeff, I wanted to shout you out.
Oh, well, okay. Too late. Also, I do want to shout people out. I want to shout out all the photographers who were making things pop on the visual end. I'm talking about Mia, Nick Watkin, Tommy Battle, Lucky Peters, Anthony Gaithers, and then on the West Coast, we had Lenz Anderson and Josh Gonzalez, and then when we did our Cameron interview, we had the video team also. That was Cam Robert and Johan Chiriboga. I want to thank all the publicists. I want to thank all the artists, all of our guests.
And everyone who listens. I want to thank everybody who is out there subscribed, rating, commenting, letting us know that you enjoyed the episode, who you think should be on the episodes, that you're happy that we've made the episodes. Shout out to all of you out there. We appreciate you. You have gotten us through this with our bodies, our souls, and our minds somewhat intact. Jeff, another episode tomorrow, day number 12. As always, guys, not for real, for real.
For sure.
We'll see you guys tomorrow.